All right, we're just going to get through this review so you guys will know what to expect on your test. You can go through it as many times as you need to. I'll just have to break it about every 14 to 15 minutes because that's all YouTube will let me upload pretty easily. You just got to know your derivative rules. For a product rule, um, you got U times V prime plus V times U prime. It really doesn't matter the order because it's a sum, so you got commutative property going on there. For a quotient rule, order does matter. So you've got to start with the denominator times the derivative of the numerator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator over denominator squared. And then the reason I got chain rule over here is I need you to remember to do the derivative. So you've got bring your power down, so bring the n down, then you've got u to the n minus 1, and then I just need you to remember to multiply it times the derivative. So put du, or I mean, if you don't want to put du, quite honestly, you could just put u prime. So if you just want to do it that way, that'll work. Let's see here. If you go on, next part, you got to know your trig derivatives. So derivative of sine is cosine. Derivative of cosine is negative sine. Derivative of secant is secant tangent. Derivative of cosecant is negative cosecant cotangent. The derivative of tangent is secant squared. And the derivative of cosecant is, cotangent is negative cosecant squared. Okay, so remember, if it starts with a C, your derivative is going to be negative. Okay, so that's your tip off. And then we just start in taking derivatives. The ones at the beginning are fairly easy. This very first one, you do need a rewrite step. So that's going to be x to the negative 7. And make sure we have proper notation. So whenever you do the derivative, note that you're doing the derivative. Bring your power down. You have x to the negative 8 when he steps down. And then we need to rewrite, clean it up. The negative 7 stays in the top. The x to the 8th goes back into the bottom and becomes positive. Then for number 2, he's ready for the derivative already. So you've got 4 times 3 gives you 12. Bring your power down, and you're done. Okay, third one, he's just a polynomial, so he's going to be pretty easy. You just apply your power rule, so you've got 8x to the third plus 12x, and then the derivative of negative 1 is just 0 because it's constant. Okay, whenever you come over here, the first part is polynomial, so she's going to use your power rule. So 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. That's going to be x squared. And then this is just a trig function. So you've got the derivative of cosine. It's just negative sine. So that's going to be a plus 3 sine x. And it was just a very basic trig function. That's all you really have to worry about. They get a lot more complicated a little bit later. Okay, for number 5, we do have product rule. So we do have to start with that one. So we have x to the 4th. Now let's do the product. The derivative of cotangent of x is going to be negative cosecant, that's an S, cosecant squared x. And then we're going to have a plus sign, and then we're going to have cotangent x. And the derivative of x to the 4th is 4x cubed. Okay? So now let's clean it up. And it really doesn't matter which order you do this in. Just get it cleaned up. You can leave it like this and you put negative x to the 4th cosecant. I'm having the hardest time with this S. Cosecant squared x. And then here you just want to put the monomial part out front to make it look better. You don't want to get it messed up with your angle. So your angle is only x, so he's the only thing that needs to be at the back end. You can leave it like that, or you can turn it around. It makes no difference. I turned mine around when I worked my problem just so that the subtraction was in the middle, and y'all just have to pardon the wiggle in my board. But either one of those is perfectly okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to shrink my little pen here, and we're going to come in here and do this one for the quotient rule. If you do not like the t, you are welcome to change it to an x. Okay, when we apply the quotient rule, we have g prime of t is, I'm going to start with the denominator. And then we need the derivative of the numerator, which is 3, minus numerator times the derivative of the denominator, 2t. And then we're going to have the denominator squared. So you've got to wrap it up, do quantity squared. Now, it's time to clean up the top. And remember, since you've got this minus here, you have to distribute everything. And it is imperative that you put these parentheses around that denominator, because you've got to show that there's you have to distribute this 3 times that entire binomial. So don't leave off those parentheses. That's important. So let's see here. We're going to do 3 times t squared. You're going to do 3 times 2, 6. Then we've got minus 6t squared. Don't worry about the bottom. Just leave him all packaged up. Clean up the numerator and you're done. So that's going to be, and it really doesn't matter the order. You can go descending order, or you can just make the subtraction look good. So you got negative 3t squared plus 6t squared plus 2 quantity squared, and be done with it. Okay, keep going. And on number 7, this is going to be the chain rule. You know it's a chain rule because you have a polynomial on the inside and you have a power on the outside. So this power tells you, okay, we need the chain. So we're going to do f prime of x. You're going to pull down your power. You're going to repeat the inside. So repeat the u. This is the n minus 1 gives us a 4. And then you've got to do the u prime, or the do. So you got to do the derivative of the inside, which is 2x plus 2. Now I would clean this up, and since this binomial right here does not have a power, or technically its power is 1, you can go ahead and take the 5 and distribute it with that binomial. And you can have 10x plus 10, and that is perfectly okay. But this entire group is multiplied times this binomial, which is raised to the power of 4. Now, you cannot multiply these out because this binomial has that power. You're stuck. So leave it alone and be done with it. Okay, on number 8, you have f prime of x. You have a product of 2 binomials. So you just use your product rule. We've got the first one times the derivative of the second one, which is 1, plus the second one times the derivative of the first one, 3x squared. Okay, then it's just a matter of multiplying it all out. We have x cubed minus 1 plus 3x to the third plus 18x squared. Get your like terms together. We have 4x cubed plus 18x squared minus 1. And that should do it. Okay, now that's a hot mess. When you look at this, yes, you do have trig functions, but don't try to swallow the whole thing at once. Just look at that first term. In the first term, you have product rule. So we've got to just deal with that to start with. Product rule in the first term. In the second term, it's just dealing with a trig function with an angle. But we got product rule. So here goes. And by the way, when you start dealing with product rule, let's take this out and break it up. We have 3x and we have sine 2x. That's what we're dealing with. So we're going to say 3x and then the derivative of sine 2x. So the derivative of sine is cosine, same angle, but then I have to say, what is the derivative of my angle? Well, it's 2. So don't leave that part off. So once your angle is no longer x, you have to do the derivative of the angle. Okay, that's the first part of your product rule. Remember, you got to do the flip side of it. So now flip him over, and it's sine 2x times what is the derivative of 3x? Well, that's 3. Now you got to keep going with this part, and I'm just going to have to do number 10 somewhere else. I need the derivative of cosine 7x. So the derivative of cosine is negative sine. So negative 6 times negative sine is positive 6 sine, same angle, times the derivative of my angle. Derivative of 7x is 7. So hopefully, did y'all catch the part about the negative? This negative right here is multiplied times the negative that came from the derivative being negative. So that's the reason we got a positive. Now we've got 3 terms. So because the product rule gave us a plus sign here, now we've got a term there. So all this has got to be multiplied out. This is multiplied. This is multiplied. You get your monomials toward the front. Well, the little pieces that are not part of your angle. So you got the 2, you got the 3x. So that's 6x cosine 2x. All right? And then the 3 is not part of your angle. Bring it out front. All right? And then on this one, you got your 6 and you got the 7. It's not part of the angle. The angle is only 7x. So that's going to give us 42 sine 7x. And none of the angles, even though these two are both sine, you cannot combine them because this one is 2x and that one is 7x, so you are stuck. Do not try to do anything. That problem is finished. Okay, so for problem number 10. Problem number 10 says f of t is 1 minus 2t to the third to the 5th power. Well, this is the chain rule. So f prime of t, and again, if you don't like t's, change them to x's. Bring down to 5. 1 minus 2t to the third. Power comes down to 4, and now I'll have to do the derivative of my inside, which happens to be negative 6t squared. Okay, so my 5 is multiplied times my negative 6t. So I have negative 30t squared, 1 minus 2t to the third to the 4th power. And you're stuck. Don't try to distribute anything because this right here prohibits it. You cannot distribute. Okay, let's see what we've got on the next part. Okay, we do have a product rule. We might be able to get one of these done before we need to move on to the next video. We have x to the 4th, and then we have 2 plus 7 quantity cubed. So I've got x to the 4th, and then I've got to do the chain rule on this. So I'm going to bring down to 3, 2, that's supposed to be 2 plus 7x, and that's supposed to be squared, and now the derivative of the inside is 7. Okay, swap it over, do me a plus sign, and then I've got to take turns. It's going to be 2 plus 7x to the third, and then the derivative of the front part, or the other term, x to the 4th, is 4x to the third. Okay, so I did my product rule. I've got my two terms here. Clean it all up. Take these little pieces. I've got 21, x to the 4th. He goes out front. And then I have my binomial squared. Bring down my plus sign. Take the monomial part out. Then I have my binomial cubed. Okay? So, we're going to stop right there, and then we're going to pick it up with number 12 in the next video. Okay?